All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the CSL, and welcome back to the Choke City podcast. It's been a little while, but we're back, and the Choke City podcast is looking to be a regular occurrence this year. So I'm your host, Doug, GM of the Phoenix Suns. With me, I got Marcos of the Chicago Bulls. He was the CSL champ in 2019 for all you new GMs out there. And with me, I also got Brett, who's the former Dallas Mavericks GM, and he's also the current draft head. So welcome to the show, guys. How you guys doing?
And well, how are you doing, man?
Good?
Yeah, doing good as well. Excited to be here back. Yeah.
Cool. So the topic of this podcast is, so in this first one, we're going to talk about the top 10 of the draft. We're going to try to spend 3 minutes on each player. I got a little timer here to the right, and we're just going to talk about each player for 3 minutes. So it should be about a 30-minute podcast. So the first one, since the Knicks have the first two picks, we're just going to talk about the Knicks. We're going to talk about Jaren Jackson and Markelle Fultz for 6 minutes. All right, you guys ready to go?
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about Jaren Jackson and Markelle Fultz. Good picks, bad picks. What do you guys like about them? Marcos, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think that was the right combination of players to go. My only neck on those two picks is that Fultz is a little bit better than JJJ, but that's obviously that doesn't matter at all because it was the right move for them. They get two young guys who are going to be their cornerstones. None of them are going to be the primary scorers, but they're going to start for them for like 15 years plus, and they're going to be great players once it's said and done.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd all agree that the Knicks kind of made good picks here. The question, I guess, is, would you have made this, given the Knicks, if you were in the Knicks position, you were in Phil's spot, would you have picked these exact two players, or would you have gone differently? Like, I know that a lot of people were mentioning, they didn't really get a number one scorer type with the top two picks, and there were number one scorer guys out there. So what's your thoughts on that?
I think I'd go with those two guys. They are still a long way from making the postseason or anything like that. They have their pick for next year, so they can find this number one scoring option next year. So right now it was just about going with the most complete players, with the best players available, and I think the best players available for this specific draft was Fultz and Jackson Jr.
See, I disagree a little bit on that, though. I do think I'm a big fan of Fultz. I do believe that was a wise choice. I would have taken him number one overall. I do think they should have taken Porter over JJJ. Jaren Jackson to me is more just a simple number three. He's a safe pick. I think best case scenario, he turns into a Kenneth Faried at best. I don't see him being much better than that, which is still a good player. But when he can get an all-star, superstar type talent in Porter, especially value-wise, that's something you just have to take the risk at, especially when you're talent depleted like the Knicks have been for as long as they have been.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, there's different philosophies for having the top picks. I personally have no issue with what the Knicks did. I think it's been proven that you don't necessarily need a quote-unquote number one scorer to win a title. When I won, I just had a bunch of number twos, number threes. I think it's nice to have. I don't think it's necessarily a must-have. Honestly, I love Jaren Jackson just because he's going to give you, in my opinion, I think he'll give you 15 very efficient points every night. He'll give you 11 rebounds, and that's not even counting his defense, which I think he's going to be up there for Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's got such a well-rounded game. I think sometimes people focus so much on the points, which Michael Porter, I think, is going to be, the best scorer if he reaches his potentials. I think, Michael Porter is going to be the best scorer, but I just like overall, I like Jaren Jackson. And Markelle Fultz is, again, the best well-rounded point guard in the draft. So I like that Phil, because Phil's kind of building from the ground here, so he's picking two can't miss guys. I like that. So Marcos, so you would have gone Jaren Jackson and Markel Fultz if you had the top two picks?
Yeah. And there's one more point actually. It's the fact that they are so in the beginning of their rebuild that it's good to have players like Fultz or Jackson who fits with any kind of player, and they probably have a top pick again next year, and they can draft any kind of player because Fultz can play the one, Fultz can play the two, Jackson can play both 4 and 5, so they're not rushed into picking like a 3 or a 4 because Jackson is a 5. They just fit with everyone.
Yeah, and I think too. Again, this is just my opinion, but I think the two most important positions on a team in the CSL is point guard and center. I think those are the two hardest positions to fill with good elite players. I think wing players, you can find good ones relatively cheaper, at least compared to the other positions. Power forward's not quite as easy, but a lot of times if you get a wing that can block some shots and can rebound pretty well, you can slide them down. Whereas I find center and point guard are the two hardest positions.
I would agree with that, but I want to consider Jaren Jackson never to be considered an elite center. I don't think he has that type of ratings from what I see. I don't even think he'll even finish ever first team all defense. I think he'd be great in blocking shots. I don't think his man-to-man type defense is quite high enough or steals high enough. Like Miles came out with a good article last year as far as players that can create over 3 turnovers a game, I believe it was. I think it was less than 8 or 10 players that do that. And I don't even know if Jaren Jackson will even get into that realm. He'll be close, but I don't think he's going to get quite there, especially if teams start transitioning towards a zone defense, which would negate some of his.
So, Brett, real quick, where did you have each of these guys, Jackson and Fultz, on your big board?
I had Fultz first, and I had JJJ third.
Okay, so
not far off.
Not
I do think I thought it was a big drop after the first two. I thought it was a clear top 2, and then I think you got to your second tier.
All right, that'll take us to the Pacers. No, this is the Lakers. The Lakers took the 3rd pick, and Tim took Musa. So this was the first wrench, I think, in the CSL draft. I know I was shocked. I did scout him, probably not as much as Tim, and you guys might have scouted him more. I liked Musa's all-around game, but to me, he kind of was like a jack of all trades, kind of like a tweener everywhere. I think he's like a good player, not a guy I would have taken, in my opinion, in the top 8, but he's definitely a unique player. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on Musa going 3rd overall?
Musa was number 5 on my board, and
okay, so you liked him.
Yeah, I was a fan of him, but not that high. I think between the top 3 players in my board, there was a big drop after those guys, after that top 3, and I was even talking to team that I thought he needed to go the 3rd guy in my board, and he opted to go with Musa, and well, I like it, but it wouldn't be my selection. Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of it at all. I didn't have Musa in my top 10. He's a player you do not want a rookie boost to hit on Musa. I don't think he's going to be efficient enough. I think that'll actually be a deterrent now. I've been wrong on some players in the past who have had poor shooting ratings and actually had some decent shooting seasons like Rozier or Winslow this past year. But I just think he's average at shooting. He can be an inside game. He's just going to be a low 40s, high 30s field goal jumper. He's going to be not a very good 3-point shooter. It's just a lot of fluff type ratings on him. I don't even know where you'd want to play him.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I don't think he'd do well in the current engine that we use, DDS3. I'll be curious to see how he is in DDS19, just because so his playmaking is really, really good, especially for a big guy. But I know in the current engine, he would not do very well in point guard. I think he's just too big. Smaller point guards would just blow right by him as far as like a size. Now that might be able to be different in 19. So I think that's what Tim was looking at. And honestly, I don't know enough about 19 yet to talk upon that. Maybe he can have Musa be his like point forward somewhere and he can get by without having a real true point guard. So that'll be curious. He'll be an experiment, but I think the Lakers have taken so many risks over the past few years, and so few of them have panned out, whether you want to say it's luck or whatnot. Um, Here's Tim again taking another risk. I hope one of these pays off for him, so I hope I'm wrong about Musa. But all right, that'll take us to the Milwaukee Bucks with another controversial pick from Manu. He took Troy Brown. I was surprised. Go ahead, Marcos. What do you think about this selection?
Well, that's actually the most controversial pick in this draft by far. I mean, by far, because there were like 10 or 12 players in this draft with great floors, no risky selections at all. Many of them selected right after Troy Brown. And while I think he's going to be a very good player if he reaches his potentials, I've never seen anyone like him. Uh, we've already seen some raw guys like Caboclo, like Levine, and most of those guys didn't reach their full potentials. Actually, most I think 90% of our players doesn't reach their full potentials, and Brown is a very very risky pick in a draft. They could have nailed a starter, a surefire starter, a third or second starter, you know. So I don't like this pick at all. I was working on some grades for this draft, and it was my lowest grade in the whole draft. So I don't know what else to say. I don't want to flame Manu right here, but I don't know if that was the correct decision. Let's put it that way.
What do you think, Brett?
If he reaches potentials, I can see him going there. He's got the talent to reach it. But there's still players that are far closer than he is. I mean, there's been rumors that Porter was his number one guy on his board, but something in his interview scared him off. I don't know if it's durability or work ethic or his two worst areas. But Troy Brown's durability is marginally better than Porter's to begin with. So if that's the reason why, I just can't see it. But he's got so far to go to get to, and no player's ever really boomed that much. Now, I think Manu has a better understanding of 19 than most of us do, so maybe he understands how players will develop there. But for a team that's been bad for as long as they have been, it's just you want someone, I think, more of an immediate fit to kind of help get this team better quicker than another 6 years from now.
Yeah. Do you guys remember in Manu's retro draft? Do you remember who he comped Troy Brown to? Was it Tracy McGrady or was that Porter that he?
Tracy McGrady. Yeah.
Was for Troy Brown?
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys see that kind of potential? If I know he's raw, if he reaches his potential, do you guys see that comparison as well? Because clearly that's what Manu sees.
I comment closer to Penny Hardaway than Tracy McGrady.
Yeah, I think
still pretty good.
I think McGrady was an elite scorer, and Troy Brown is going to be a number 2 if he reaches it all, you know?
I hear you. All right. So that'll take us to our next pick, which is the Detroit Pistons taking Kaiser Gates. Now, the talk of the CSL, I mean, this is another, debatable topic, but it seemed like a lot of people saw Okaro White in Kaiser Gates. Do you guys, Marcos, we'll start with you. First, do you like the pick? And 2, do you see Okaro White in his game?
Yeah, I like it, and I don't see Okaro right there. Even though he's very good defensively, he's got the rebounding like Okado. He's got good handles, but I don't think he'll be like Okado, who you can put like 2 through 4, and he absolutely shuts down anyone. And I remember we were playing, and you were back in the finals, you put Okado in Derrick Rose, and he did okay offensively as well, not only defensively. So I don't think Gates is going to have that same uh, impact, because he likes the mid-range game Okado has.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also transitioning to a new engine, so I don't know what's going to happen. But I have to say, I love this pick. I love Gates. I love his game. He's just not Okado for me.
Yeah, I know Kyrus really wanted him. So when a draft head wants him, John made a good pick there. But all right, Brett, what do you think about this pick?
So I like Gates. I think if Gates was already in this league, and say Deontay Weber was coming in, you call Weber a Gates.
Brett, I can't really hear you too much. Marcos, can you hear?
No.
Okay.
I was saying that
There you go.
It's very
I
far.
think Gates is more considered of.
Yeah.
If Gates was already in the league and Deontay Weber was coming into the league, you consider Weber a Gates light. That's how I view him. I think for DDS3, he's a good player. As with the transition after next season towards DDS19, I think there's a couple other players I would have chosen ahead of him just because of my few tests I've done. It seems to prefer other players a little more, but I think it's an interesting pick. I'd be kind of curious to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I think, from what I gather, Gates defensively looks a lot like Akaro, but I think the thing that, for me, the difference is, like Marcos pointed out, Akaro is so well-rounded. Like he does more than just play defense. He can rebound, which allows I can play him anywhere from the 2 to the 4 pretty seamlessly without any kind of drop off. He can also shoot really well anywhere from 2 inside. He can't shoot the 3, but jumper inside, he's very good. I don't know if Gates has that part to his game, but if Gates is the next Akaro, like some people predict, I think 5's pretty low. I didn't necessarily see that, but we shall see. All right. So the next one, pick number 6. So this was the Houston Rockets, I believe. This is a traded pick. So Houston Rockets and Kyrus took Michael Porter, who I believe Brett has him number 2 on your board, right, Brett?
Yep.
Because this is who you thought Phil should have taken. I didn't scout him, so I just know his reputation was to be a phenomenal type scorer. Go ahead, Marcos. What do you think about this pick?
Yeah, that's basically what you said. There's nothing much to add to this other than he's a pretty decent rebounder and shot blocker, but he cannot do anything else other than score. But he's going to score, man. This guy. Yeah, go on.
So, is he? Do you think he's kind of like a Monk clone? And will he fit in Houston alongside of Monk?
Yeah, that's a pretty good comparison.
He's taller, but it sounds like his game is pretty similar-ish to
yeah,
Monk.
He is like while Monk is playing the 1 and 2, he's playing the 3 and 4, and he's basically the big man version of the front court version of Monk. I don't know if they're going to fit, but it's a value pick right there.
I can't recall Monk's ratings, but I think Monk's will be a much better 3-point shooter, while Porter's not bad there. Porter's game, he's going to be an elite field goal jumper, and he's got a great inside game also. He isn't great defensively, as I said, but he's not as fast as people portray. He's going to get over a block a game. He plays down low. He can maybe even get over a steal a game. So that's not horrible. And I'd rather play a forced turnovers than get drives.
Okay, so do you guys project him as like a power forward? I wasn't sure if he's a 3 or a 4. Again, I didn't scout him, so I don't know what his rebounding ratings and whatnot look like. But where do you guys project him?
He's a good defensive rebounder. He can play the 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I think too.
So do you think this was because I know he wanted Gates. Do you think this is Kyrus just picking the best player left? Do you think he plans on keeping Porter, or do you think this is taking the best player left and probably try to trade him at some point?
Kyrie needs to try to trade him with how his team's built. Um, I think he needs to trade him as far as team fit goes. I told him personally he needed to trade pick 6 for a particular player that someone we know has, but that would have propelled him into a contender this year. But I think eventually he will trade Porter.
Yeah, I agree with Brad right there.
All right, so that'll pretty much take us to pick number 7, which is Dennis and the Boston Celtics. They took the first Bridges brother, Miles Bridges. This is so he is I believe he's a very well-rounded player from what I gather. What do you think about this pick, Miles or Marcos?
I think this is probably the best pick in the league in this draft. Sorry, in terms of fit. You know, I look at Dennis' team, and he doesn't really need much other than another shooter who can play defense and who can play a well-rounded game, and that's it. Exactly what Bridges gives you. You know. So it's the perfect fit right there. And that's worrisome because he's playing in the East and I'm too. And I think Bridges is going to make his team that much better. But
Yeah.
we'll see about this.
Yeah, the Celtics are so deep and they're very good. They have a ton of wings already, so I was a little surprised that they took another wing in Miles Bridges, but I know some other people were mentioning, that he's gonna try to keep Miles Bridges and maybe try to trade some of the others to consolidate some talent. I know he's been trying to trade some of his guys. Dennis has to try to pick up a defensive center. So that'll be interesting to see. But hold on one second. Looks like we lost Brett here.
Oh,
I'm still here.
Never mind. Brett's still here. All right, Brett, what do you think about this pick with Dennis?
Well, I think it's definitely the best player available. I had him 4th on my board. I did think team need wise for team in Dennis's stance, he needed one of the centers that came a few picks later. But I think if Miles hits, like if he hits his boost, he's gonna be an all-star and probably the second best player on his team behind Fox. I think he's gonna be that good of a player.
Wow, better than Skull.
I didn't think he'd be better than Skull. He just has everything. He doesn't have any rating really below 60, even to be well above 70. I just think he's going to be one of those all-around elite type players in here, especially if he gets lucky and gets a boost, which we all know we don't want to happen.
Yeah, it sounds like you had him pretty high on your board. Where did you have him on your board?
I have him 4th.
4th. Okay. What about you, Marcos?
4th as well.
So I was going to say, is this the pick you both would have made in Dennis's shoes as well? He was the best player left on your boards?
I don't think he was the best player in my board, but
left, I should say. Was there anyone better on the board left?
Yeah. And we're going to hit that point in a while.
I got you. All right. On that note, let's go to pick number 8, which was the Charlotte Hornets, and this was the other Bridges, not related to Miles Bridges. So the Charlotte Hornets took Mikal Bridges. Now, this was an interesting pick to me because they obviously have, the guard duo of Chris Dunn and Trae Young. So they're set in the backcourt, I'd say. So it looks here that they were kind of set on a small forward, and they took Mikal Bridges, he's a very 3-and-D, very, very good one. So I thought that was a pretty good pick, but at the same time, their front court is wide open. And I know there were a lot of front court guys still available. So what do you guys think about this pick? Mikal Bridges, go ahead. Start with you, Marcos.
Let's start with I see the fit. I see the need for a small forward. I understand it all, but it wouldn't be my pick if I was running Charlotte, because I think they are a good front player away from being a good team. They have Korkmaz, who's a very decent starting small forward, and I don't think Mikal is that much of an upgrade over him, even though his skill set is totally different from Korkmaz, and he's going to fit better with Trae Young and Chris Dunn, definitely. But I don't think he's a clear upgrade in terms of talent. And I would have gone a different way, but like I said, I understand the pick.
What do you think about the pick, Brett?
I like him. I think he'll be a value player. I think he's going to get traded a lot. He's type one of those players that's good but not great. I mean, he's going to be great man-to-man defense. He'll be pretty good at steals, not elite there. But I don't know if he's going to score a ton for someone who's going to try to just. He's going to be a player that's going to be flip around a lot just because he's not going to score a lot of points. That guy's going to score more than 12 a game. So it's just one of those type of just glue guys. Probably be a fourth or fifth starter on a team.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of touched my thoughts about Mikal a little earlier. I think he's a very good player. He's a very safe player. Again, I think wing players can be found throughout the league. I just thought there were plenty of big men left. Jaren Jackson's the only, well, I guess you could consider Michael Porter a big man. But like there's a ton of big men left. And yes, like Marcos touched, Bridges is probably an upgrade over Korkmaz, but I thought there was a bigger need in the front court and there were plenty of guys available. So I think there were better fits and better players out on the board. All right, so that'll take us to pick number 9. This was my pick. I could talk about this pick for hours, but we'll keep to the 3 minutes. So the Orlando Magic had it. Took a little while. I ended up trading for Shaq Harrison, point guard. We'll get to my thoughts last. Marcos, what do you think about this player?
I have 2 A+ players in my grade list, and Shaquille Harrison is the first of them, because not only he was best player available and number 3 in my board, but he fits a need. You needed a point guard like really bad. He's probably better as a shooting guard than a point guard, but that doesn't matter at all because he can play the point. He can do it. He has the handles. He has some passing ability, and he's going to be one of the best defensive backcourt players in the league. I don't care if we're switching to DDS 19 and it's a different engine and full court pressure is going to be nerfed right there. But at the end of the day, great players are still going to be great players, and Shaq Harrison is going to develop into a great player.
What do you think, Brett?
I think I basically had him probably about 5th. He's basically tied with JJJ and Miles Bridges. He's definitely a point guard. If you think Elfrid Payton's a good point guard, then he's got better passing rating and handle ratings than Elfrid Payton does. He's going to be an elite defender. He'll get close to a block a game, over 2 steals a game. I mean, he's going to be one of the best defensive point guards in the league now. I don't know why he lasted till 9th. He should have been gone well earlier than that, to 5th, 4th.
Yeah.
Was desperate for him. Lakers were desperate for him. He'd been great to go with Bagley. Or Carter, whoever the Lakers have. I forget their power forward they have. But those are just 2 soft that those players even passed on him or not even fell to 9th to begin with. Just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, I'm really glad Harrison lasted all the way to 9. I had talked to pretty much everyone from 4 through 9 until I eventually got him, except for John, number 5, because he made his pick so fast for Kaiser Gates. He's the only one that I did not reach out to. But I mean, I'm really happy he fell. To me, he's so well rounded. He has some, some pitfalls, but he can rebound really well for a point guard. He can block shots better than Bledsoe could. So he's going to average over a block a game. He compares very favorably to Elfrid Payton. His IQ is a little lower. That doesn't bother me at all. His discipline's good. His defense is phenomenal. He can rebound. He can shoot well enough. His playmaking is better than, or it should be better than Elfrid Payton's. I mean, yeah, I love this pick. I'm gonna, especially in DDS 19, where I can, I can put him on anyone that I want, basically 1 through 3, pretty seamlessly. So, all right. So this will take us to pick number 10.
Wait, just a second. Just
Sure.
Before we go to
I want
pick
to know what
number
Marco thinks about this pick in this trade. That's what I want to know.
10. I tried to trade for Shaquille Harrison as well, but what I wanted to point out was the fact that people were telling me, "Hey, Shaq can't shoot," and actually, Derrick Rose couldn't shoot either, but he had a mean jumper, and that was very, very, very important for me winning the championship, you know. And Shaq Harrison also has a meaning jumper. He's got a very good one. He's going to be a threat to score with his mid-range and driving ability. So for all those saying, "Oh, he can shoot," he's not going to be a good player in DDS 19. Well, I would like to point out that jumping the mid-range game is underrated in this engine, in DDS at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely a lost art, the jumper. His 3-point's not bad. I have it.
Yeah, he's decent.
5, I think.
He's decent, like Derrick Rose was with 3-point shooting.
Yeah, he's not gonna kill you from deep.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, he's a foundational type guy. I just need to put the right players around him. I need to put some shooters around him, and I have plenty of time to do that. But to me, like where he's elite at, he's so elite at so many things. Like I said, defensively, his handles are phenomenal. His rebounding's good. He can block shots. He can steal. His discipline's good. Like, to me, that's a foundational type player, and it's such a hard position. Whether I play him at point guard or not, I plan to until he fails there. But even if he does fail at point guard, he'll still be an elite wing player to me because he's so good defensively, so good at rebounding, so good at handles. He's got a nice jumper, like you said. So to me, that's like his ceiling or his floor is very high, even if he fails at point guard, which I don't think he will, but time will tell. All right. So now we'll move on to our last pick for the top 10. This was the Philadelphia 76ers. This was a pick made by the draft team because the Sixers have a new GM, Robert Williams, big man. Marcos, what do you think about this pick?
Well, BPA feels a need. They needed an upgrade over Damian Jones, who was their starting center. He's going to be an elite shot blocker from day one. He's going to be an extremely good rebounder as well. He's going to dunk on everyone and everything he touches. Basically, the correct pick. Well done by the draft team. They did well for a team that needs talent, that needs a new GM, an active GM. And now, if they bring Jabari Parker back, they are going to have a very good starting 5. And I think Williams will be one of the key players in Philadelphia's, let's say, resurging plan, with a new GM.
Definitely. Brett, you were part of the decision process as part of the draft team head. So walk us through your decision to take Robert Williams for the Sixers.
Well, I thought he was a perfect fit for the Sixers. We were actually kind of surprised that he lasted that long. We actually kind of thought he was going to go to either Dennis or Charlotte, where we had him pegged to go to. I think he's going to be one of the great players here. He's not going to. He's going to be very efficient. I mean, field goal dunk is amazing. Now he won't score a ton, but I think he's going to be a much better player than even Hassan Whiteside, who's gotten a lot of love in this league. His shot blocking is post wise on par, but he's gonna be a much better man-to-man defender, more efficient, he'll even score more points. I can see him being like a 14-9 over 2 blocks per game type player. If he gets a boost, he'll even be close to an 18, 19 points per game type player, close to all-star level.
Now
He's
that's
gonna be one of
really,
the better.
yeah, that's really interesting to me because it seems like how you're describing Robert Williams, that's exactly what Dennis is currently looking for in a center for the centers that he's reaching out for. I know he reached out to me for Zach Collins. Sounds very similar type player, Robert Williams does to Zach Collins. So do you
He's going to
think,
have lots of very consistency, so I don't see any weakness in his game other than I mean I think Dennis didn't like the fact that his discipline's a little bit lower, and it's going to be a good drawing fouls, but he's not going to shoot a super high free throw percentage. And those were the knocks that Dennis kept on hounding on. That he wants players with higher free throw shooting, which I just everyone has their own opinion on the stuff. But
yeah, I mean, back to the Sixers, I think Robert Williams fits that core really well. Adrian Payne is aging, and I believe he's also a free agent this offseason. Yeah, their starting center, what was his name? Damon
Damon
something.
Jones.
Damon Jones. Yeah, he's a bit of a bust. He was a high pick. He never really panned out. He was supposed to be a DeAndre Jordan type.
9th overall, and he was a bust too.
Yeah. So, all right. So that'll do us for this first part of the podcast. With me again is Marcos and Brett. And if you guys want to continue listening, just download the part 2, which will have picks 11 through 30. But that'll do us for part 1.